What's up, and welcome to the DualSense podcast for episode 144. I'm one of your co hosts, Jason. I'm joined as always by your other co host. His name is Travis, of course. Travis, how are you this evening?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little jarred because we've been forced to record on a new platform this evening. In the past, we had used Zencaster, and as we were talking about at the beginning and really the whole time last week's show, we were on a time limit, and what I thought was 2 hours a week turned out to be 2 hours a month, and that's obviously a problem for us, because we're freeloaders. We don't pay for our podcast recording service at the moment. So, anyway, we found a new app here. We'll pimp it a little bit at the moment. It's called Podcastle. It's a website and an app. You can do it either way. So far so good, wouldn't you say?
I would say.
So I also wanted to ask you what was for dinner tonight.
Well, my parents decided we needed to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and they asked for a time. So I told them 5:30, and my mom texts me at 5 and says we're here in a booth in the back because that makes sense.
Uh huh.
So obviously I get there at 5:30, so they sit there for 30 minutes, and then
Yeah.
yeah, so we're
Old
eating, and
people do that.
yeah, I know, and then my stepdad orders honey barbecue wings.
Mm.
Yeah, and he says they're super spicy.
Uh huh.
So
Which they're
anyway,
not, but that's fine.
they're not, but they are to him. So that was, that was the whole dinner, was my
Mm.
spicy wings.
Did you also get the honey barbecue? That's your go-to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're fine. It's
Hmm.
fine.
I had Fazoli's Italian Kitchen. Don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I didn't know they put Italian kitchen on it now.
I believe it says Fazoli's Italian Kitchen, correct? Yeah. I sometimes refer to it as Fuzzy Oli's, you know?
Mhm.
A lot of people are skeptical of the Fazoli's. I'm not. I'm a fan, and you know that about me, but, I've been
Yeah, the
craving just some
breadsticks are
pasta.
nice.
Oh, yeah, super buttery, garlicky, great for your cholesterol,
Mhm.
and, I enjoyed myself, and, also went ahead and just got a iced coffee while I was out. Not drinking it right now because I feel like I'd had too much, so I'm just going with H2O at the moment, but,
What do you do with it then?
I'll save it and probably drink it in the morning while I
Where's it at?
edit the podcast. It's in the fridge.
Oh, it'll get cold.
It's an iced coffee, I said. It's no worries. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's freezing, it's chilling out. So, anyway, Travis, we are a PlayStation podcast where you and I get together each and every week to discuss news, rumors, new game releases, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We do it all in under 90 minutes, of course, when our podcast recording service is working correctly. And we share new episodes every Monday on all of the usual podcast services around the world, as well as YouTube, where we share gameplay videos sometimes as well. And you can find us on social media. We would love to hear from you. Twitter is our primary feed. It's at the DualSense Pod, but we're also on Instagram and Facebook, if you please. And our website is the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com, and you can get our shows there each week as well, in addition to show notes, our photos, and some short bios about Travis and myself. And we're good looking guys, good looking guys. So if you're a lady out there, which very few of you are, sadly, you might take a look at us, right? So, anyway, we're both married, by the way, so calm down. You go put yourself in the refrigerator with my iced coffee. How about that? And without any further ado, let's get into the news here, Travis. Starting with number one. In continuing its recent string of studio acquisitions, PlayStation announced on Thursday that it has acquired Bellevue, Washington based developer Firewalk Studios for an undisclosed amount. Firewalk will become PlayStation's 23rd internal studio by my count, the 24th if you count XDev, and I'm also counting Malaysia Studio, of course. Although Sony said in its press release that they are the 20th PlayStation studio, but who's counting? Firewalk was founded in 2018 as a subsidiary of publisher Probably Monsters, which is a great name, and they are led by industry veterans Tony Hsu, who was previously the general manager and senior vice president of Destiny at Activision, and Ryan Ellis, who was previously the creative director at Bungie. In April of 2021, PlayStation, Firewalk, and then parent company Probably Monsters announced a publishing partnership for Firewalk's unannounced original AAA multiplayer game, which is coming to PS5 and PC. Sony says that Firewalk, which employs nearly 150 staff, will collaborate with fellow PlayStation Studios teams, Bungie and Haven Studios, who was PlayStation's last acquisition, to, quote, define a new generation of live service experiences for PlayStation gamers, end quote. Head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Holst, said he was thrilled with the acquisition, stating in the same press release, quote, we've had the privilege of working with Probably Monsters and Firewalk for several years, and our team share the same ambition to create meaningful experiences for gamers. Firewalk's innovative approach to connected storytelling and its commitment to high quality gameplay continues to exceed our expectations. I think fans will be very pleased when they see what Firewalk has in store for them. End quote. Okay, a new internal PlayStation Studio. What do you make of it?
So think if you were like, reading the stars for what's coming, this isn't surprising at all. Firewalk kind of checked all the boxes that PlayStation usually throws money at in their by their count 20 studios.
Hmm.
You showed this to me at lunch yesterday, and I, even as a casual gamer, as you like to say, I was the least bit shocked. I guess I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like it just seemed like it made a lot of sense with the pedigree there.
Hmm.
They have people that were at Destiny, people that were at Bungie before, and they're going to work with Bungie and Haven, so that makes sense, right? It just kind of ties in.
Yeah.
The other thing that makes a lot of sense is, we've been talking about how PlayStation needs their own AAA FPS. This is clearly what they're working on. These guys have experience with those types of games, even though
Oh, yeah.
Destiny's kind of third person, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
So either way, I think they're working on some sort of shooter that would be a
Hmm.
multiplayer game, is what I feel like. What I found interesting is like some of these Xbox heads, like I was on Twitter today and I forgot who it was. He's relatively popular. He has like 50,000 followers, but he was saying something to the effect of like, "Man, I hope they sue about this and try to block it." I know he was being tongue in cheek about it, but it's like even when you're trying to be tongue in cheek, it has to make sense.
Right.
So like coming from somebody who thought clearly he thinks PlayStation suing Call of Duty or whatever was going on where they were trying to block the Call of Duty merger purchase is stupid. That's clearly what he was trying to say, and
Hmm.
it's not. It's just not even on the same world. Like I don't know. I wish people understood how to properly argue. Like maybe everybody should take a debate class while they're in high school so they can understand how you properly can pull topics and
Yeah.
stay on topic actually when you're debating. Like it's just stupid shit like that. Like,
Hmm.
and I have no idea what that guy's name was. You could probably find him, but he's a fucking idiot. So even if he's trying to make a joke, like you can't be stupid. Like why can't you just I don't know, God, I just don't understand. But anyway, none of this was terribly surprising. But if you're, I think if you're in the boat of hoping for a really awesome first person shooter coming from a PlayStation owned party, this seems like the really good route. It seems like they're doing the right things.
Yeah. There's a few interesting things of note here for me of this news. But first, I want to touch on kind of what you were hitting on. In fact, in the fact that we talked about organic growth for PlayStation on the show before, and about how that looks different now than it used to, where PlayStation would spend years kind of collaborating with these developers, like Insomniac, with they worked on with games before, and then they uh, Sucker Punch. That was the other one I was trying to think of. Like Sucker Punch, they worked with both of those on games before they acquired them, and we are in this arms race essentially over studios and publishers too. Now, obviously, with Activision, to where that's not really the way it's going to be done anymore. I think these acquisitions of teams like Firewalk and Haven and Fire Sprite, who did Horizon Call of the Mountain, those are about as close as we're going to get in terms of, okay, we're going to publish your game. We're going to give you a couple of years to see what you come up with. And if we like it, we're going to buy you because we don't want whatever you're making to come out. People think it's awesome. And then someone else buy you, or you go be like Kojima. And then now you're making an Xbox game and a PlayStation game. So I think this is about as close as we're going to get moving forward to organic growth. The interesting thing about that is that I'm not going to say that PlayStation or Sony is not going to acquire a publisher because I think that that possibly could be happening with Square Enix. And I think that would make sense for Sony and PlayStation in particular. But what we talk about on the show just about every week now, right? About how so and so and so and so have co-founded a new studio, right? I mean, every week we're talking about a new studio that gets founded. And I say that to say that if PlayStation is paying attention, I think that they can continue to do the types of acquisitions that they're doing with Firewalk, et cetera, the ones I just mentioned. So, in other words, there's lots of talent out there. There are lots of cool games probably being made by new studios who, with veterans like these guys who have left other big studios, have great pedigree and they're making cool stuff. So, I think we're not done seeing that sort of thing over the next several years. The other, one of the other notes that I wanted to make too was that uh, another live service game, obviously, talking about collaborating with Bungie and Haven, who we know is sort of making up this arm of live service operations for PlayStation internally. So that's interesting. The other thing I wanted to note was that I hope that, and surely they are, because when you have all these live service games, you have all of these studios making, like you said, what presumably are shooters, which don't get me wrong, it's one of the most popular genres of video games in the world outside of sports, but they have to be careful to make sure that they're not all making the same game. And I'm 100% sure that PlayStation knows that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be buying all these people if they're making the same type of game. But on the other hand, that is a fair criticism in a way of PlayStation is that they, the joke is that they make single player third person action games. God of War, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone. Like they're all third person action games. They're different, but they're all the same style,
Yeah,
correct? So
and Scorsese makes mob movies, but they're still good. Like,
that's a good point.
I don't know what you mean. It's like I know what you mean, but it's like F1 only races on road courses and NASCAR
Yeah.
turns left. It's like, yeah, but it's a product that makes millions of dollars. Like, sure,
That's
that's
fair.
fine and all, but like again, you can't criticize them. I'm not saying you specifically, but people
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
criticize PlayStation, but all these other companies, they do the same thing. They make the same type of game. And think
Yeah.
about it too. Like if Bungie, like Bungie's made nice games with Destiny, and like let's say they only made Destiny games. If they switched it up and made a side-scrolling 2D platformer that would, even if it was kick-ass, people would be pissed off about it. But if
That's a
they
good
make a
point.
Destiny 3, they're gonna be pissed off about that too. So that drives me insane. Like I don't know what they expect.
Yeah, those are all good points. Those are great points actually. So but just curious about that. Hopefully they have diversity in what they're doing. And I'm sure that they do. Also, we're gonna have a shit ton of live service games. I mean, they've told us as much, right? It's 16 live service games by 2026 or whatever the fuck. Like, which if you think about that, they've got to get cooking on this shit. So, I mean, they got
Yeah,
they got 3 years basically. If maybe it was 12 by 2026 and 16 by 28. Either way, if it's 12, they got to get cooking.
it's
They
still a
got
lot.
Yeah, they got 4 years starting right now. So, just get ready for that. I feel like there was one other thing that intrigued me. Oh, so as far as the next acquisition, I think that is probably Deviation Games, which is the studio that they've partnered with to publish their game. Or did they already buy Deviation? I don't think so. No, they didn't buy them. Those are the guys who have some of the studio that has some of the former Call of Duty guys leads that are making a first person shooter as well. So I think the Deviation is probably the next domino to fall, and I don't think we'll have to wait. I think we'll find out about that before the year is out, and possibly I don't know, maybe a Square Enix acquisition as well. So we'll see. Number two, industry analyst Matt Piscatella, formerly of the NPD Group, which actually has just rebranded to Circana. I had thought last week or a month ago that he had left, jump ship, but actually they just rebranded, so it's called Circana now. And Matt shared March video game industry sales data this week. The biggest news is that the PS5 is now tracking ahead of the PS4 in terms of unit sales after 29 months on the market. In other words, after 29 months, the PS5 is now sitting ahead of the number of PS4 units sold in its first 29 months on the market, which means that it has a good chance of potentially outselling the PS4. Other interesting data is that PS5 is the best selling console in both units and dollar sales for March and year to date. Resident Evil 4 was the overall best selling game in March, overtaking Hogwarts Legacy. Other notable PlayStation titles charting this month were MLB The Show 23 at number 3 overall, The Last of Us Part 1 at number 5, and God of War Ragnarok at number 15. Piscatella also noted that Engagement levels are returning to pre-pandemic levels after a massive spike that saw the video game industry explode on nearly all fronts after the world locked down for COVID. And perhaps most importantly, he says that subscription spend growth is slowing down, meaning that numbers of subscribers to things like PlayStation Plus is beginning to level off across the board. Elsewhere across the pond, PlayStation 5 sales have increased a mind boggling 369% in some European countries in the first quarter of this year when compared to the first quarter of 2022. The list includes nations like France, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Switzerland, and Portugal, which is in addition to the 180% increase seen in the United Kingdom. Okay, what do you make of any of this?
Pretty big jump in sales across most of the countries that the Nazis stormed across in 1939. That's pretty exciting.
Uh huh.
Then Britain's only half of that, which they also kicked the Nazis back, so that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
My
They're
point
too
being,
busy.
clearly weak-minded people love PlayStation, is what I'm saying.
What's that say about us?
So I figured that I assume that once the market leveled off as far as
Yeah.
availability of PlayStations, that the sales would start to eclipse the PS4. So no surprise there.
Hmm.
And I would honestly be surprised if the 5 doesn't end up being the biggest selling console of all time, except for maybe the Switch. It'll definitely
Well,
be the largest PlayStation of all time.
I
But
think it'll be right behind Switch, Wii, Switch, PS2, probably be
yeah,
fourth.
so something like that. Like that's fair. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the two was remember how crazy, like everything that you said, the Switch, the PlayStation 2, like the Wii, those things were like so different. Like, you know what I mean? It
Hmm.
was just revolutionary in a way. All of those you could make an argument for.
Hmm.
But anyway, I think The Last of Us 1 at 5 is interesting, especially since The Last of Us 2 exists, and you would kind of think maybe it would be near the one,
Yeah.
but clearly people are watching the show and then buying the game. So makes
Hmm.
you wonder if if season two follows The Last of Us two, if at that point we'll see an increase in The Last of Us two sales. You would assume.
Yeah, I think that also has to do with the launching on PC too. I'd forgot
Oh
about
yeah,
that. I'd forgot about that.
yeah, I forgot that existed. So that's nice. Good for them.
Yeah.
Of course, Resident Evil is just kicking ass. No surprises there. I watched some MLB The Show stuff randomly. Like the YouTube algorithm will randomly show me shorts. I
Mm,
guess I watched a couple,
yeah.
and it'll just show me like people playing the MLB version of my team and hitting 500-foot bombs, and then
Uh-huh.
I watched one that was like frustrating stuff on MLB The Show, and it was just dudes just perfect, like perfect timing, perfect read on the pitch, all that stuff, perfect swing, absolutely rip the ball, and it just goes right to a fielder. Love that. That's still a thing. And then they would hit balls deep into the center field, and the guy would just kind of run around and catch it at the wall, even though you did hit it as perfect as you can hit it, and the guy's power is 150.
Uh-huh.
So love that about the game. So I'm glad I didn't even buy it because that would make me want to break everything in the room. And then other stuff too. It showed people pitching, like you hit the spot, throw the ball perfectly, it's low and outside, and then a guy pulls it down the line 500 feet, which doesn't even make sense. So
Perfect.
yeah, glad I didn't waste $70 on that shit that's been the same for the last 25 years. And I watched a comparison video of the game from the last 25 years, and the only difference is the graphics look better. So anyway, you could at me at Twitter if you hate that take.
Yeah, yeah. They'll blow me up and then I'll forward it to you.
Thanks. Good.
Mhm. Good, good. So, yeah, big I mean, as expected, a big, huge, girthy push by the PS5 here, finally getting out ahead of the PS4 thanks to that monster February probably that they had, yeah, I think it bodes well. I think PS5 is on track for a huge 2023 and, a huge life cycle in general. I it's going to be tough to pass the PS4, you know, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, maybe not. I think we've gotta somewhat prepare ourselves for this thing to be bigger than the PS4. There's just so much momentum, I think, and so much inertia from the PS4 generation into this generation. And I
Mhm.
think that there's nothing in the PS5's way, really. I mean, yeah, the Switch obviously is huge, but it's not apples to apples in my opinion. But if you're just talking about, you know, AAA quality console games, that is what sells these boxes. And I think Microsoft, meaning Xbox, not having a game for like 16 months here from the first party, all of last year, especially.
Mhm.
I think it's just kind of smooth sailing right now for
Yeah, can I
PlayStation.
make a counter can I make a point about that real quick? I just
Yeah.
realized as you're talking.
Okay.
Okay. So, we all know what a gaming PC is, and then we know what a personal computer is, right? It's completely different.
Sure.
I feel like that's how PlayStation and Xbox are. PlayStation is your
Mm,
gaming PC. In the console world,
mm,
it's your high-end gaming PC. That's what you're doing with it, man. You're playing games. And the
yeah.
PC, the family PC, like you do your taxes on it and your budget, and you type up your thesis for your master's class. Xbox is the same way. You can stream a game, you can play a game for it, you can watch
Yeah.
whatever. It's just like it's not the same thing. I feel like PlayStation is making the only console that's dedicated to games.
Yeah. No, I think you're on the right track, and for enthusiasts and for the hardcore, it's definitely where it's at. I mean, of course, we're biased, but there's some objectivity to that as well in terms of like, listen, there are no games right now to play on Xbox from the first party anyway, and we really need. I've said this before, but we need them to be good. We need Starfield to be good. We need that vampire game to be good. Redfall. We need those to be good because we need Sony to keep the bar high for PlayStation, which I think they'll do that on their own. But competition's not a bad thing. So as far as any of the games selling high, that doesn't really stand out to me. None of that. So I think we're in for a big year for PS5 and beyond, 2023 as well. Number 3, after getting absolutely shit on a few weeks ago for allegedly being a commercial flop, it appears that the PlayStation VR 2 launch sales were nowhere near as bad as it seemed. If you'll recall, Bloomberg reported that analyst Francisco Geronimo from a company called IDC claimed that the headset was off to a slow start a few weeks back, selling between 270,000 to 300,000 units in its first month, and that it would likely need a price cut to avoid a quote unquote complete disaster. Now, thanks to Twitter user and friend of the show, Lurian, I think that's how you say it, Lurian, he compiled reported sales data, or they, I should say, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. They compiled reported sales data on all of the major VR headsets, and we learned that PSVR 2 is actually off to a pretty hot start. Lurian's data shows those projected sales numbers would actually make PSVR 2 the fastest selling wired headset ever released. In fact, it took the original PSVR 5 months to reach 915,000 units, while the new headset may have done a third of that, excuse me, in just 1 month on the market. So, what do you think about a little bit of exaggeration on the DOA diagnosis for PSVR 2?
We have a friend.
Yeah, he's a relatively new friend of the show. He's a follower on Twitter at the very least, potentially a listener. So
Oh, cool. That's
luring,
awesome.
but yeah, all these news articles that were coming out about this last week or this week, they were all quoting his tweet and like screenshotting it and shit. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah,
I know we talked about it earlier, but Francisco Geronimo is one of the best names we've had on the show.
that is.
And I don't know if we talked about IDC before, but I assumed
Yeah.
it meant I don't care, and then it's not real. He just made it all up. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, when we first talked about that story, you made a point that it didn't really add up mathematically, and you kind of hinted at what
Mm,
Lurin is kind of compiled there. So, if you listened to the show previously,
mm,
you'd know that we've made that point. So,
yeah. If you just do the hard math, 270
right.
times 12, that's like 3.2 million, which it's not gonna sell 270 every month, granted, but
But still,
they're
and
projecting 2 million for the fiscal year, so
yeah, and they might land a little bit under it, but still, I
yeah,
mean, they're already this clearly shows that they're on pace, and we knew that last when we first talked about this too. They're on pace to break that 5-month number anyway,
yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
I think that PlayStation's usually pretty realistic about their expectations. Like when you remember we were talking about the 5, they were like, "Yeah, it'll rebound once the supplies are there," and it has rebounded, and I think more than they expected. And
Yeah.
they've even talked about before, like, "Hey, when the pandemic's over, all this spending and shit's gonna drop. It's gonna crater back to where it was." So they kind of were planning for that in the way they were operating their business. So their projections are generally pretty solid. So it kind of seemed like a red flag to think they'd be that far off on PSVR 2 when they're traditionally pretty close to what they think will happen anyway.
Yeah. There were some other reports this week too that I wanted to add here that Amazon is apparently getting ready to start selling PSVR 2.
Oh, see, they'll get some impulse buys there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Some people were posting whatever store pages of it. So I think that will be a boost as well because as we've talked about right now, it's only available on the PlayStation Direct website. No retailers whatsoever. So once that starts happening, if that's real about Amazon, for instance, that'll be a boost. Like you said, even if people impulse buy. The other thing that you have to take into account too in that regard is that, people do, believe it or not, walk into a store, see things that they didn't know existed and buy them. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
not everyone is as terminally online as we are, meaning that, they walk into a store, they're like, "Oh, PlayStation, I've got one of those. Oh, this is a VR headset. Oh, cool. I played that at Nana's. I want the PlayStation one," and they buy it. So, or people don't know that, like I said, people don't know that things exist until they see them in a store, and then maybe they go buy it later on, or ask for it for a gift or something like that. So, Twitter and our space, our sphere is just one piece of the puzzle, one piece of the market, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Number 4, we also have a bunch of news nuggets here as well. Travis, feel free to jump in here. First nugget, Giant Bomb writer Jeff Grubb said this week that he has heard again that a PlayStation showcase is coming on, or in May, excuse me, or early June. To that effect, Spider Man 2 developer Insomniac Games has asked fans to be patient for, quote, a little longer, end quote, on Twitter this week when being asked about showing footage of the game. So it's coming. And I think my gut tells me last week of May, first week of June, probably right before Summer Game Fest at the very latest. Like they'll wait to the last minute, but very excited. I think this is going to be anywhere between 1.5 hours to 2 hours. I think it's going to be a big one. And I think they've got a lot to say. I think they've got a lot to show. I think they've got some stuff to tease. I think they're maybe even gonna throw in some, like, film or television trailers for some of their IPs. I think that's going to
Hmm.
start being a thing, which I think is fine as long as it's PlayStation and it's not like some, "Hey, it's Dwayne Johnson here," like, whatever. "Check out fucking, my movie, Jurassic or, Journey to the Center of the Earth 5," whatever. So long as it's not like an ad, no, that's not PlayStation related, I think that's fine. The other thing that I kinda feel strongly about is I think that they're going to shadow drop one of these live service games during that showcase. My gut tells me Helldivers 2. My heart wants to say The Last of Us Factions, but I'm going to stick to my my true gut on Factions and say November for that. But I think that Helldivers 2 or maybe another live service we don't know about might shadow drop during the PlayStation showcase, which I think would be perfect. I think that'd be cool. It's a good idea.
Have we confirmed Spider-Man 2 is a jump around to different Spider-Mans?
No, that's just a rumor at this point.
Okay. All right. I was just curious. Yeah, I think May or June is a good timeline for a Gran Turismo movie update. So that feels like that'll be a part of it for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Forgot about that.
And then I don't know, man. When are we getting this Wolverine update? That sounds like a great time for that.
Yeah, yeah,
So I mean, no, there's a
possibly.
lot of things that could. There's a lot of things that could fall if we're doing an hour and a half, 2 hours. They've got to bring something exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I feel like if they come out and they're like, "Oh, it's 45 minutes." Like, that's kinda like, I mean, we'll take what we can get, obviously, and whatever they show us will be good. But after not having a showcase since, like, September of 2021, like, you need to fucking bring some heat. And we know they've got the heat because they have fucking 20 studios, and a lot of them are working on multiple things, so as we've talked about, so anyway, I think it'll be good. I think we have reason to be excited. And we might also find out about the Q light there too, which everyone hates but me. So next nugget. Capcom held a Street Fighter 6 showcase this week, which included lots of new details for launch in the future, including the reveal of 4 post-launch fighters. They also shadow dropped a demo for PS4 and PS5, which is available right now. And you'll even be able to transfer your created fighter over to the full game if you like.
Oh, I could make a fighter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exciting.
I'll have something to say about the demo here a little bit later. Next nugget, developer Enhance, which I think are the people behind Res Infinite, revealed on the PlayStation blog this week that their action puzzle game Humanity will be launching day one on PlayStation Plus on May the 16th. It'll come to PS4, PS5, PSVR 2, and PSVR. So we're getting our first PSVR 2 PlayStation Plus game, which is exciting. Publisher Perp Games, great name, shared some gameplay details this week on the PlayStation blog for their upcoming game VR Skater, also known as Vomit on Myself Sim. It's coming to
Mhm.
PSVR 2 this summer and will feature a mega ramp for Big Air, like I said, Vomit, adaptive trigger and haptic support, board customization, and more. And we learned that players will use their hands as if they were their feet to perform tricks while trying not to throw up, as I said. So that'll be
That's
tough.
a the giant vomit box.
It really is.
I
Good luck
just
to you
can't.
guys.
I'm trying to figure out how you use your hands as feet. Imagine if your hands were
Yeah.
feet or feet were hands. That just doesn't really work for me.
Yeah. I agree. It's a big ask. Good idea. Big ask.
I want to try the big air though. That sounds great in VR. Like I bet
Yeah.
it's wild.
I'm sure it is. Also, website Video Games Chronicle reported that another major figure at PlayStation developer Media Molecule has departed the studio. This time, co founder and creative director Mark Healy has confirmed that he is leaving the company after 17 years, with his last day being this past week. Media Molecule also lost co founder and art director Kareem Atouni earlier this year. And of course, we now know that the studio is ending support for Dreams and moving on to a new project. So everyone's jumping ship because they're not getting to follow their dreams.
Yeah, it sounds like they PlayStation was like, "You're not fucking doing anything," and they all hated
Yeah.
that they had to work. That's what it really seems like.
That's funny. That's funny. I mean, good luck to them. Best wishes. And maybe we'll get a video game now from them. Next nugget, Bethesda game Ghostwire Tokyo performs quote unquote quantifiably worse on Xbox compared to PS5, according to Digital Foundry, despite it now being a first party game for Xbox and having a year to develop the port from PS5. Just a interesting note, of course, on the heels of the whole Redfall vampire game 30 FPS debacle.
Yeah, and how many times have we heard, "Oh, we're making this game, but on Xbox, the way it's built, it can't be that good," or "There's holding us back for what we want to do for PlayStation." The fact that you have to port it,
Yeah,
like when you use the word port for a
yeah,
game that you're trying to put on a quote unquote similar console worries me. Like I know that the term it's an industry term to port, but like
yeah.
oh my god, you shouldn't have had that many. There's just a connotation tied with that. Like we're trying to port fucking Driver from PS1 to PS5. It's like we're making a simulator. Like
The worst thing that happened that happened or could have happened to this console generation is the Xbox Series S. And I think if people were honest with themselves, they would know that that's the truth because they have to make games for that, and it's night and day less powerful than Series X and PS5. But anyway, next nugget, publisher Warner Brothers Games and developer Unbroken Studios announced Harry Potter Quidditch Champions for PC and consoles this week. It is a fast-paced competitive multiplayer game in the vein of Rocket League. No release date was given, but it did hold a closed playtest over the weekend. And you know what? I'm a little salty because I signed up for the playtest and I don't think I got invited. And I really fucking don't like that.
you didn't put our media credentials on there.
Yeah, I should. I might have to pull fucking rank here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would like to have tried it.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good idea. That makes me mad. I'm gonna have to check my junk email. It would make sense if my email sent some Harry Potter shit to my junk, right?
It would. Well, not really.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I guess it would be okay.
it sends Dying Lights shit to my junk. I'm looking
Yes,
at
because
that
it
right now.
sucks. What's
Nintendo shit
who
goes to
wrote
my
that?
junk.
Who wrote those books? J.K. Tolkien or whatever.
J.K. Rowling. Okay, well they don't want me to play it, so fuck them. Cool, cool. All right, I'll give it a shot at some point. I'm not that salty about it. Next nugget: former Obsidian lead Josh Sawyer, Tom Sawyer's great grandson, revealed this week that he was working on a RPG based on the Alien film IP in the late 2000s before it was ultimately shit canned. Sega was attached as publisher for the project, and they eventually scrapped it in favor of a game you might have heard of called Alpha Protocol. Speaking of Sega, they announced this week that they are acquiring Rovio Entertainment, the makers of Angry Birds, for some ungodly reason, and they're paying $776 million for them. So,
Mm,
okay,
nice.
good for
Is that an
them.
American company?
Rovio, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
They should
No
have made him
idea.
pay 1776. and then like have a fucking flag with them.
Oh, that's good. Also, North Dakota Senator Kevin Kramer, who is not a Seinfeld character, has written a letter to Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida requesting information on the company's game exclusivity deals. Kramer claims that Sony's market dominance is jeopardizing the game development industry in North Dakota. To which I say,
What?
what fucking North Dakota game development industry?
Nobody wants to live there, buddy. North Dakota is jeopardizing their own issues because they're in North Dakota. Like, come on.
Yeah, that blew my mind. Anyway, Electronic Arts revealed that The Sims 4 has now reached more than 70 million players worldwide, including 16 million since making the switch to free to play. The PS5, PSVR 2, and DualSense Edge all received a firmware update this week for the typical bug fixes and also performance improvements. Epic Games has acquired Brazilian developer Acquirus, the makers of Horizon Chase and Wonderbox, and they're going to put them to work on Fortnite. So hope that they like Fortnite. Horizon Forbidden West added several new accessibility options alongside the Burning Shores DLC this week, including a thalassophobia mode. I think I got that right, which is for people with an intense fear of deep bodies of water. We also learned that the Forbidden Shores map size is roughly a third of the size of the base game, which to me is nuts. That's crazy. And there's also, I mean, people have been spoiling the fucking DLC left and right online this week, even including media outlets. Like I've had pretty much the whole fucking thing spoiled for me, and that really makes me mad.
Yeah.
Like I know who's in it. I know some of the things that happen in it. I know some of the shit you see in it. Like everybody can just fuck off. Like that makes me so mad. It just came out. It's not like it's been out for fucking 6 months. Whatever. I digress. Also, French indie developer Drama released the first gameplay trailer for their body cam style first person shooter called Unrecorded this week. It took the gaming world by storm for both its photorealism and its subject matter resembling police shooting footage, of course.
Oh yeah.
I get why people are triggered a little bit by this, but I also am not offended by it because I watch body cam footage on Reddit all the time.
Yes,
but
you do.
yes, I do. But no, I'm not offended by it because it's a video game, guys. It's a video game.
It's
It's a
also,
video
isn't it
game.
like horror related? It's not.
No, it looks like a horror game. There's another
That's what I
one.
think in my
Yeah,
head.
there is several though of those like that. Like this is just a new style of game.
Hmm.
Like
Well, somebody called it propaganda because it was promoting cops or something like that. And I'm like, first
Christ
of
on.
all, and then everybody. So if you go and look that up online, because I went down a wormhole today, because
Mm,
I'm fascinated. You know, we've been hearing about how great the Unreal Engine is for like 17 years, and then every game that
yeah,
comes out that's even on Unreal 5, it looks the same to me. And then finally, we have one that actually seems like it's using it. So that's
yeah.
exciting. This and the 6 Days in Fallujah. It's funny
Oh
that
yeah,
both of the games that I've seen that seem to showcase the Unreal 5 in that way that are related with any kind of
yeah,
measure to FPS, people freak the fuck out about. So maybe it's just
yeah,
too realistic for people.
yeah. Maybe, might be.
So
Also, one
we'll
other.
play it.
Yeah, I agree. Also, one other really valid point I think is that this is a French studio. They don't live in fucking America. Okay. They don't have the same problems that we do. They're not attached to our society in any way. Like they're just making a video game. Okay.
Yeah,
They probably don't have the exact same values that we have in terms of like, they don't have police shootings or whatever the
they have
fuck over there
stabbings
maybe. Yeah, they have
and
police
bombs.
stabbings. Yeah, like my point is that they're not an American developer, so it's not like fucking Insomniac's out here making one of these games, in North Carolina. Like that's not what's happening. So
Yeah,
there's some necessary context here as well. Is that we Americans think that everybody should cater to us and et cetera, et cetera. But that's just not the case. That's
mhm.
just not the case.
In fact, most countries hate us.
Yeah,
And if you look at the people bitching about this online and you read their profiles and read the other things that they tweet about and the other things that they write about, they come off as very narcissistic, and that's a reaction you expect from a narcissistic person.
yeah. Yeah, it's a video game. I mean, we kill shit in games all the time. We kill fake people in video games all the fucking time.
Okay, just remember though, only your opinion matters in the world.
I
You're
know.
the only one who's right. Only your perspective works. You're always
I know.
the main character.
Thank you. I know I am. Also, next nugget here, developer Fantastic or Fantastic, the developer behind controversial MMO The Day Before, has claimed it is planning a beta for the game. The game itself is scheduled to launch on November the 10th on PC and at some point on PS5. Although people, including myself, don't believe it's a real game. I think it's vaporware. I think they're just like creating shit in Unreal Engine, making trailers, and then taking people's money. I don't think it's fucking real at all.
Why don't we do that? That sounds awesome.
I'm pretty sure we would get fucking locked up if we did that.
Oh,
Everybody, all these other assholes can get away with fucking murder on, broken ass games that come out, and we do one thing as a joke, we get fucking locked up for the rest of our life, probably.
perfect.
Anyway, next nugget: Ubisoft held a Division Day stream to provide updates on the Division franchise this week, including that the Division 2 is getting a fifth year of content that will feature new story DLC and a new roguelike game mode called Descent. And we also got to see some gameplay from the Division Heartland, finally, the free to play survival looter shooter that Ubisoft promised they'd have more info on later this summer because, of course, they did. We still don't have a release date, and I don't think we're going to get one in the summer either. I think they're going to announce like some open beta horse shit, probably. But anyway, we got to see some gameplay of it. I'm ready for it.
Starting to think it's vaporware.
Yeah, me too. Also, website Games Industry reported that according to the AARP, 45% of people 50 years or older play video games. That number is up from 38% in 2016 and 44% in 2019. 84% of 50 plus gamers say that they play on mobile, 53% on computer or tablet, 28% on console, and 21% on smart home technology. So there's some overlap there. They play on multiple devices. Old people love their games.
They love to play Candy Crush and Solitaire on their phone.
That is true. Netflix has hired former Halo Infinite head of creative Joseph Staten to work on a AAA game, which I believe is the first time that Netflix has said they were going to publish a AAA game, presumably on consoles in addition to mobile and PC. So they're stepping into the big boy ring, I believe, with this move here. So I know it's not PlayStation news, but it's like I said, it's a new competitor.
Have you read about what the game's supposed to be about?
No
You're like in
propaganda.
this, yeah, it's like this really big Eastern European country, and it's like allegedly a democracy, but it's really like a dictatorship. And then you slowly march to the west and try to take over like Ukraine and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
Oh wow, yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's like
So
the
it's,
flag on the cover's a red flag with like a fist and a sickle.
yeah, it sounds like Call of Duty Moscow.
That'd be awesome if they made Call of Duty Moscow.
Next nugget. South Africa's regulatory body has approved Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard this week. So there's one more obstacle out of the way. Website Push Square reported that Star Wars Jedi Survivor will take up a whopping 147 gigabytes on your PS5 SSD when it launches, or launches here, as I say, on
Dang,
April the 28th. It's a
it's
big
gonna eat all
fucking
those
game.
gigabytes.
Yes, it is. Square Enix will hold a Final Fantasy 16 pre-release live stream on June the 11th, possibly with a PS5 demo dropping that day.
Hmm. Sounds like I'm coming that day.
Yes, you are. Diablo 4 has gone gold ahead of its release on June the 6th. And Blizzard also announced this week that they're going to hold an open beta for Diablo 4 on May the 12th or the 14th, I believe. They're calling it a server slayer demo, which is funny. PlayStation Plus premium members can now download trials of MLB The Show 23. There you go, Travis, and Kart Racer Disney Speedstorm, which I'll have something to say about the latter there in a moment. Eric Barone, the solo developer of Stardew Valley and the upcoming Haunted Chocolatier, announced that he is taking a brief a what? Announced that he is taking a break from the latter to provide a new content update for the former. Oof.
You've had about 4 nuggets in a row.
Oh no.
You've spelled something or forgotten a word.
I know. Fuck me.
Jesus.
Oh, okay. Next nugget. This is an easy one. VR
Uh-huh.
puzzle adventure game. Watch me fuck it up. Another Fisherman's Tale is launching for PSVR 2 on May the 11th. Armored Core 6 key art was discovered this week on the Microsoft Store. That's following it being raided in Taiwan last week. It's probably a decent chance that it gets a full reveal at the Summer Game Fest. Capcom revealed this week that its upcoming co-op dino shooter Exoprimal will get post-launch content including new exosuit variants, weapons, seasonal content, and crossover collaborations with other Capcom titles. PlayStation Plus premium game Loco Roco Midnight Carnival is getting trophy support. French publisher Focus Entertainment has acquired railsimulator.com.
Cool.
That be careful when you Google that, by the way. The parent company of developer Dovetail Games, which means it now owns IP like Train Sim World, Bassmaster Fishing, and more. Publisher THQ Nordic announced that they will hold a digital showcase event on August the 11th featuring world premieres and updates on previously announced projects. Should be fun. A demo for the King of Fighters 15 is available now on PS4 and PS5. Sony has quietly hiked the prices of PlayStation games on Steam in 7 countries worldwide, including on titles like Miles Morales, Days Gone, God of War, Returnal, and more. Atari has acquired the rights to Bubsy 3D, which was originally developed by Bend Studio in 1995, who was then known as Eidetic. Dying Light 2 has dropped what they are calling the Gut Feeling update this week to compete with Dead Island 2. It adds a melee physics system much like Dead Island 2's Flesh system. So they're trying. I don't know if they can do it, but they're trying. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that the Lord of the Rings Gollum will feature paid Elvish language DLC, which has pissed off some fans because, of course, it has.
Why? Because they have to pay for it, or
Because
because
they
they
got to
don't
pay to.
understand Elvish?
I think they're mad they have to pay to listen to people talk like elves, which is a made up language. But,
Wait a minute. So that's literally what that means is I don't.
Yeah,
They just I don't know what the fuck they're saying.
it
So I'm
means
paying to read subtitles.
no. It means that they add the elvish dialogue or voice acting to more characters in the game.
Why would I
So
want? I don't understand why I'd want that.
I guess if you want to be immersed, so you can listen to some more
Sure.
elves. Next nugget, Dead Island 2 co-op can't be hosted on base PS4 consoles, with PS4 players only able to join already in progress sessions. Oddly, this is not an issue on PS4 Pro. Also, website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: WWE 2K23, The Callisto Protocol, Horizon Forbidden West, Temtem, Elden Ring, and Minecraft and Legends. So if you've been waiting for some bug fixes or new content, check those out. Also, developer Techland has been asking fans on Twitter what they would like to see from a potential Dying Light 3 protagonist, although they would not confirm if they are in fact making a Dead and Light. Jesus Christ, Dying Light 3. They're currently working on a fantasy RPG, which sounds very dope.
I don't. Didn't DL2 just come out?
Dying Light 2 came out last February or last April. Last April, I think.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
which one kept getting delayed for so long?
Dead Island, the one
Oh,
that
okay.
just came out
DL.
this week. Yeah. Next nugget. The Final Fantasy 16 State of Play crossed 1 million views in just 48 hours. So I think people are a little bit excited about that one, except for Travis. Death Stranding Director's Cut on PC personal computer has added DualSense Edge controller support. Website Gamatsu reported that puzzle adventure game Chance of Sinar will come to PS4 sometime after its PC launch on September the 5th. Narrative adventure game Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals will launch for PS4 and PS5 on July the 12th. Side-scrolling action platformer sequel Blasphemous 2 will launch in late summer for PS5. Metroidvania sequel Tesla Grad 2 Shadow dropped on PS4 and PS5 this week as both a standalone purchase or as a bundle with likewise Shadow dropped Tesla Grad Remastered. Cult of the Lamb will receive a new DLC called Relics of the Old Faith on April the 24th. It will feature a new post-game storyline, new enemies, new bosses, revamped crusades, and usable items called relics, of course. Pixel art puzzle Metroidvania Animal Well is launching for PS5 in early 2024. Sorry, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon free DLC
Mm-hmm.
Puzzlers Pack will come to PS4 later this spring. Cooking roguelite management game Played Up will release for PS5 sometime in October.
Wired up.
A Game Boy Color game Trip World DX is coming to PS4 and PS5 from Limited Run Games with pre-orders opening on April the 28th.
When do they close? I assume it's a limited run.
That's correct. Thrilling horror adventure game By Sweet Carol was announced for PS4 and PS5. It will release sometime in 2024. Aeterna Noctis prequel and side-scrolling roguelike Summum Aeterna will launch for PS4 and PS5 in September.
What?
Some of these balls.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of, I'm getting off the rails now. Speaking of Aeterna Noctis, it will get free DLC called Pit of the Damned on May 22nd. Hand-drawn point-and-click adventure game The Many Pieces of Mr. Coo launches September the 7th for PS4 and PS5. Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot.
You
The
took
London.
French.
I don't know, bro. That doesn't make any sense. Poirot. I'm gonna go.
I think you spelled it wrong.
It's Poirot. No, I spelled it right. It's Poirot. Poirot. The London Case was announced for PS4 and PS5. It will
Followed up
launch
with the London case.
it will launch sometime this summer. Oh, thank God for that. Publisher Playism will release farming life sim city building game Drago Noka on April the 28th for PS4.
I thought that said Draco, and I was like, what a game. Running around with a fucking stick.
Educational adventure game Dolphin Spirit. Ocean Mission must be the spiritual successor to Echo the Dolphin. It was announced for PS4 and PS5, and it's launching September the 28th. Puzzle adventure game Firmament from the creators of Myst and Ribbon will come to PS5 and PSVR 2 sometime after its PC launch on May the 18th. An Indie Live Expo will take place May 20th and 21st, featuring more than 200 games. Resource management game Mineko's Night Market will come to PS4 and PS5 on October the 26th. And finally, Travis Gamatsu reported that publisher Devolver Digital announced co-op platformer Karmazoo for PS5 that will launch sometime this summer. And that is all for the news this week. And I'll turn it over to Travis now for this week's new games.
On the 18th, we have Disney Speedstorm. Don't destroy the rocket. You hear that, Elon?
An unplanned, what would they call it? An unplanned rapid disassembly?
Yes.
Hilarious.
They were trying to make sure it could launch, so I don't think they were really worried about that part, but
Yeah.
it launched. That's what they wanted to find out. That's what they got.
Yeah.
We have God of Rock.
Landed too.
Minecraft Legends, Montgomery Fox and the Revenge of Victor Draven, Puzzle Quest 3, The Mage Seeker, a League of Legends story. Interesting. Afterlife VR on the 19th. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Horizon, Forbidden West, Burning Shores, Survival, Fountain of Youth, Tesla Grad 2, Tesla Grad Remastered, Wild Dogs. On the 20th, we have Ad Infinitum. Afterlife VR came out 2 days in a row. Arcade Archives, Cosmo the Gang, Big Adventure Trip to Europe 3. Which that's a great release because 420 is Hitler's birthday, and then he took a big adventure across Europe.
Yeah, he did.
Cavity Busters, which I think is just a bunch of propaganda to create more dentists. Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly. Fatal 12. That sounds interesting. A Labyrinth of Zangetsu. That's it. Labyrinth of Gengetsu. Panic Porcupine also sounds awesome. It's Stray Blade. And on the 21st, we have Dead Island 2 and Moefu H. So obviously the Disney game, Dead Island 2, probably the two biggest ones.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, I would say I would say Forbidden West, Burning Shores, then Dead Island, then Minecraft Legends, then Disney Speedstorm, in my opinion. And there was one on here though that caught my eye. What was it? I don't think it was Cavity Busters. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's all for the new games this week. And let's start to wrap the show up here, Travis, like we always do, by discussing what we've been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What do you got?
See here, John and I played a little PGA tour. We're trying to cheese the trophy system, but they patched it so it didn't work online. So now I have to actually beat somebody online. So who knows if I'll ever do that.
Yikes.
Yeah, but I got the trophy for the hole in one and some other stuff. So like all the only trophies I have left before the platinum are win online, play online, and then like win some tournaments you can win in your career. All the majors basically. So it's
Okay.
doable if I decide to do it. My character's like a 78 overall. So it's kind of get to the point now though, like to get the XP I need, it'll just take me a while to like get really, really, really good. So I don't know how much time I'll put into it
Right.
because I'm not about to sit through all the trainings. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's see. Played Battlefield again. Been enjoying the Scar. That's been fun. I got a different scope for it, and it's made it tremendously better. And I unlocked like a drum magazine and a new grip, so like now it doesn't move, and I have infinite bullets, so it's a lot of fun. And the little rocket launcher you have now that you can shoot. Um,
Oh, the grenade launch, sticky
yeah,
grenade thing?
that
Yeah.
thing's fucking great. I love that thing. Especially when you stick somebody, it's so satisfying. I did get stuck with it yesterday. Like I got shot in the shoulder, and then like it was like flashing in my face
Yes.
before I died. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, what is that gun I unlocked? Like the whatever I told you I really liked. I forgot what it's called. The something
The
68 maybe.
Oh, the RM68?
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
love that gun. It's nice. I'm sure
Yeah,
they'll
it's a good one.
nerf it since I like it.
Of course.
That game's a blast now. So we're killing it on there with John last night, shooting down fucking jet fighters with tanks and stuff like that. You know, just the normal with John. I'm excited that they're gonna finally fix discarded, hopefully, on the next update. So that would
Yeah, they
be
are.
fucking awesome.
Is that Tuesday, right?
I think so. And from the stuff I read online, our experience on the Leviathan thing was maybe abnormal. So maybe we should give it another shot. It seems like
Oh, really?
we
Hmm.
just ran into maybe we just ran into a bus all night. Who knows?
Okay.
But yeah, man, killing it on that game. I think that's all I played this week. Nothing, nothing else to report.
I just looked up this game that you actually read off last week. Official Snables, a licensed product? What the fuck? Do you remember this game, Rubber Duck Wave Racer, from last week that you read?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to watch the trailer for it. Yes. It's Mario Kart with rubber ducks. Okay. Anyway, what did I play? I played Battlefield 2042 with you, like you said, you and John. We had a good little run there, and I enjoyed myself. John just continues to do stupid shit with the tank as far as shooting helicopters and planes and stuff out of the sky. Actually, he was using the rocket launcher the other night, and it
he
was
was walking around with a rocket launcher.
it
He
just
plays games. He plays that game like you're not supposed to, which maybe is what we should do.
he does. I also love how he never even thinks about reviving us unless we ask. And, like,
It
he's
never
never paying
occurs to
attention.
him.
He doesn't occur to him. He doesn't look to see if we're down. If he dies, he respawns immediately. Just,
He doesn't
you know.
try to get revived either. He just like fuck
No.
it.
No,
Also, he drove the tank off of the fucking mountain cliff on exposure last night, and then on my screen we were just fucking cartwheeling down the mountain.
no. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's such a good game. Did you send me a thing that said the player count for 2042 is up like 500%? Some shit?
Yeah, some article I read the other day.
No, it's good. It's a good game. Been telling you guys. Don't call it a comeback. Anyway, also played the free trial for Disney Speedstorm, and I thought it was neat. It was okay. I did not feel like I was driving fast, which is my problem. I felt like my cart was very slow, and I think that's like I should be fast. Like you level up your skills or abilities. I get that, but like I don't know. I just didn't like that I felt slow. I don't think I should feel slow on a game like that, but it was neat. I mean, I didn't hate it. I might try it again sometime. I'm not going to pay for it. It'll be free to play this fall. Also played the X Defiant beta with some of the Gaming Nexus boys. It's a closed beta at the moment. We got codes from Ubisoft to play the beta, and we streamed a little bit one night. So played it, 4 of us, and, it's I texted you, it's a lot better than the alpha. I don't know what they've fixed, but it's definitely better. I
Is it
think
less CG?
yeah, and I think what they've done, the biggest thing I think that I noticed is they adjusted the time to kill.
Mhm.
So, I was living longer, and I felt like I had more of a chance to actually, kill other people, when they saw me and things like that. So, I don't know, maybe it was just placebo, maybe I just happened to be playing better, but it definitely felt better than when we played the alpha a couple months ago and we hated it. So, I don't know, it'll be free to play at some point, so there's that. I also played in the Street Fighter 6 demo, just kind of on a whim, they dropped that, as I mentioned in the news earlier, so I downloaded that, and you can just play the World Tour mode right now for a little bit, which is the one where you make your own fighter, your own character, and, I gotta say, man, it's pretty cool. Like, I'm not a fighting game guy, but they've made it pretty accessible, for someone like me. It's cool creating your own fighter, and then you kinda, like, roam around, a world.
Like Pokemon?
Sort of, but it's like a metropolis looking town. I'm gonna say this and you're gonna hate it, but it's really not like that. It's kind of like the city thing in NBA 2K. It felt like to
Mhm.
me is what it looked like. But you just run around. There's people everywhere, and you can just walk up to random people and hit square and fight them. And it's just like, and it's pretty seamless. It's pretty quick. It's like I could walk up to a postal guy, hit square, and then 5 seconds later I'm fighting him. And like people have their different fight styles, and you rank up and you can unlock skills and you can unlock different fighting styles and special moves and stuff. I think it's actually a pretty neat idea for a fighting game, something different. So I appreciate that. And I'm like,
How's the customization?
it's pretty good. You can make your person look just like you. I mean, it's pretty in depth. Like you can, you know, all the sliders for the eyeballs and the shape and color of your iris and, whatever, just all kinds of shit from A to Z. So pretty
I
in
like how
depth.
you make yours look like you.
I
Like,
do.
that's I
Yeah.
want my guy look fucking insane.
Well, you can definitely make the guy looking. You can make him look like a serial killer if you wanted to, and I'm not exaggerating. Like,
My golfer has a mullet with a huge fucking porn stash, and it made him fat, and, like, he looks ridiculous. Like, that's the whole point. I love it. Like, I don't want him to look like
yeah,
me. I want him to look like John Daly.
we could have a whole episode on that about how like there's people like you who just make their people look ridiculous. Have purple hair, and then there's people like me. There's people like you, and then there's people like me who like want to make their person look exactly like me. And you know, I don't know. It's just me. It's just who I am. Okay.
Remember that one time you scanned your face for 2K and it made you black?
Which is so funny because I'm the furthest from black as you can possibly imagine. I'm
Oh,
the pastiest motherfucker you probably ever see. And anyway, so it's on my radar. I'm not gonna lie. I put it on my wish list. I think it's pretty cool. Um, so we'll see. I don't know if I'll get it at launch, but maybe I'll catch it on a sale one day or something. And then the last thing I played, that I've been playing is Dead Island 2, and I've actually had this game for a few weeks now, at least, and I've been reviewing it for GamingNexus.com. I gave it an 8 out of 10, which is good for us. I enjoyed it. There's a couple of like balancing issues with difficulty in the first like third of it, and it's amazing like how much better it gets after the first third of the game. I would say like basically essentially once it gives you guns, the game gets so much better because once you start getting guns, you also start getting other really cool melee weapons. And I was like, oh, this is then you start feeling like a real badass after that point. So a little bit of kind of progression balancing problems there in the beginning. Same thing happened to me at the end where the recommended level to continue the story, I was 4 levels below that. And I was like, "Well, this is horseshit." And I'd only done like a handful of side quests along the way, so I had to grind some side quests out to be able to finish the story without getting just destroyed by zombies. So there's that. I didn't appreciate that. And then, there's some minor technical hiccups too that they can patch, but I don't know what they can do about the balance thing at the first of the game really. So anyway, though, fun game, very good looking game, and honestly, it's way better than I expected, and I think that's kind of a small miracle considering that it's a game that has been through 3 developers. It's 12 years since the original, and we probably didn't deserve to get the game that we did. So it's amazing what Dan Buster has been able to do, and I would recommend it. I think it's probably best in co-op. I did get to play some co-op with, I think, a developer, and, I think
Which
that's
one, the first, second, or third?
oh, good touche. The most recent, and, so I think that's probably where it's at, is playing that game in co-op, with friends. I could see having a blast just destroying zombies with, like, you and John and Jacob. Like, I think that'd be a lot of fun, but I think that's probably where it's at its best. Anyway, so yeah, that's all I played this week. Dabbled in several things. I have several things upcoming as well, and I'm looking forward to that Lego 2K Drive racing game in a few weeks, and some other stuff. I got the Wayfinder beta coming up on May the 10th, so lots of stuff to be excited for. PlayStation Showcase, all the things. Anyway, that's it for me. That's it for Travis. That's it for the show. So we'll get out of here now. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast service or YouTube to get a new episode delivered to you every Monday on your podcast feed or YouTube feed. And also, if you can leave us a like, a rating, a review, thumbs up, comment, all that stuff is very helpful. Helps us in our fight against the algorithm. We very much appreciate it. Just like we would appreciate you sharing us with a friend or a loved one who you think might enjoy getting all of the week's PlayStation news in less than 90 minutes every week, every time. Please send them our way. Don't forget to find us on social media, Twitter at the DualSense Pod, Instagram and Facebook. Our website is thedualsenspodcast.wordpress.com. We would love to hear from you. We'll get out of here. You guys take care. Have a great week, and we'll talk at you next time. Bye bye.